Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, where positive parenting meets well-being. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Positively Healthy Mom. I'm your host, Laura Olinger, teen and parent well-being coach and founder of Positively Healthy Coaching. And today I'm so excited to introduce you to a friend that I've kind of gotten to know over the past month, Heather Sumlin of Sumlin Solutions. And so Heather, tell us a little bit about, where you're coming from, who you are.
I'm Heather, as you said, and I have been a mental management coach for about almost 20 years. My father is an Olympic champion, and he created the mental management system as he was preparing for the Olympic Games back in the early 70s, and he's been teaching it to people across the globe ever since. Ever since he won the Olympics with it. And then I came on board working with him back in the early 2000s, worked with him for about 19 years. And then I started my own company in 2023, Sumlin Solutions, teaching primarily women in subjective graded sports and outlets or competitive outlets how to control their mind under pressure for competition. I work with a lot of teenagers. I work with a lot of parents and helping them be able to just take the mental management system and apply it to whatever it is that they're doing in life.
I love that. I love that. And I know you do have a focus on pageantry and athletes and also the dog trainers. So it's kind of like really what you teach applies to any type of a performance or I kind of like anxiety inducing situation where you have to be kind of at your best. Right. So the reason why I thought today would be so fun is because teenagers are often in these types of situations, maybe not on a big stage or on a big field, but kind of just everyday life. And so here's my first example. The other day, my son was asking a date to homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
He's a freshman in high school. And so I'm sure you've seen it on Instagram. The way it works is they all make a little poster and they go out to the door and And, this is it's a friend of his. It's a girl. They've known each other for a long time. But he felt so worried. He was nervous and he's like, oh my gosh. And I just said, my only advice was, buddy, just do it quick. Like let's not, the longer we kind of allow it to perpetuate, and she lives in our neighborhood. So we just drove over there and I'm like, okay, you can do it. And I was like, I wish I had some better, tips at the time. And I thought, oh, I'll ask Heather when I talk to her. So how would what you teach apply to I don't call that an everyday situation, but something like that?
So it's probably no different than if we're preparing to take a test or we're preparing to compete in any sort of competition. There's that preparation right before that we can do something mentally in order to have a better result, hopefully. He can't control whether or not she says yes. He can't control how she responds, but he can control how he thinks about it ahead of time. So a couple of quick things I would say is mental rehearsal is really helpful. So if he mentally rehearsed how he would like for it to go, what does he want to say? Where does he want to stand? How does he want to act and behave? He can even mentally rehearse that she says yes and she's happy about it and it goes well. That calms the nerves a little bit, and then it also allows the self-image to receive a positive imprint. So our self-image is growing and shrinking based on what the imprints we give it, what we think about, what we talk about, what we write about, what happens around us, what happens to us, all impacts our self-image positively or negatively, depending on the quality of the imprints we give it. And so if he's deciding in advance, I'm going to believe this is going to go well, self-image is like, it is like you to get a date to homecoming, and it's going to be better than if he's thinking, wow, this is going to go poorly, then he's more likely to stumble over his words, have a negative experience, whether she says yes or not. So those would be a couple of quick things. Also, if he's super nervous, yawning tends to lower your energy level. So if you're really stressed out, you could always yawn and it kind of naturally calms you.
Calms the nervous system. Oh, okay. So those are some great tips. And okay, I'm imagining that maybe I'm telling him some of these things, imagining it going well, imagine how you're going to do everything. What do you do when you have a teenager who is just so fearful? For example, we all know the biggest fear I think of humans is public speaking. And I know you coach, that's kind of one of your main niches that you focus on. And so when you have your pageantry girls that have to answer those questions, how do you coach them on speaking and sounding calm and competent and all those things?
Well, action cures fear. So you want to make sure you're practicing and you're getting the reps in, especially if it's something that you have to do in front of an audience of people. So making sure that you know the material that you're going to be delivering, making sure you put yourself in stress-filled situations so that you can practice how you're going to handle that. I
Mm,
also think when it comes to, you mentioned on stage question, basically that phase of competition in pageantry. In on stage question, the thing that people are probably most afraid of is what is the question? I don't know what they're going to ask me. But I
mhm,
think if you know who you are and you know why you're there, you have a better
mhm.
chance of feeling more at home and comfortable in the environment. And so I think
Yeah.
knowing why am I here? What is my purpose? Why am I doing this? And if you know who you are and why you're present, it lessens the need to be perfect or have to sell yourself too much. And
Mhm,
also, I guess one other question that they could ask themselves is what am I really afraid of? What do I think is going to happen? What is
mhm,
the worst case scenario that could possibly happen?
mhm.
And most of the time, it's really not that big of a deal. And when
Yeah.
they start really walking it back, they start to realize, well, maybe I don't need to be super scared. The other thing I would say is to internalize their nerves maybe differently. Maybe they're afraid of how they feel. Maybe they're afraid of their tummies turning or their palms are sweating or their heart is racing. And they're internalizing that as negative. But what if instead of feeling those feelings and thinking they're bad, what if we feel those feelings and we think, wait, this is because I'm going to go do something that's important?
Yeah.
Maybe that makes those feelings actually good or neutral, even instead of automatically assuming and putting a bad negative label on how I feel. What if I
Mm,
invite those feelings in instead of fighting them away? Maybe
yeah.
they won't get overwhelming.
Yes, I love that. Those are all such great tips. So it made me think of a client that I have who is currently trying to get a job. She's a freshman in college and she's had a job before in high school in the summer, but she's on her college campus and there's some little like boutique shops in the town where she's in. And she's worried about going to ask for an application or if they're hiring because she says in the past, sometimes what they'll say is, oh, have you filled out our online application? And then she feels stupid.
Mhm.
And so we kind of rehearse this like, well, what's the worst that can happen if you just go into a coffee shop or go into one of these boutiques and say, are you hiring? And I said, it can be simple as like, all you have to ask is like one question. Like, what is the worst that can happen if you ask that one question? When she thought about it that way, it was actually really helpful because she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, the worst that can happen is they just say, no, we're not hiring. Right. Because she has it in her mind that they're going to think she's dumb. So she's kind of putting so much emphasis on things that A, she can't control. She doesn't know if they think, and B, that A, most likely will not happen, but C, it's such an outward focus. And I like what you said about for the pageantry girls, like really thinking about who they are as a person. And that applies to the story I told you about when I had the trouble public speaking when I was in high school running for class president.
Mhm.
So remember that whole story, and I'm not going to share it today because, that's part of my whole decider speech that I'm going to be giving on stages at schools and speaking with groups and things like that. But I just want to give the idea that I've experienced that as well, and so I wonder how that would have worked for me back then. If, for example, I just kind of focused more internally, and then same for my client, like if she just focused more internally about what she would bring to this boutique or this coffee shop and how, like, what her skills and her talents and not even that, but she's just a cute, bubbly, happy person. Like she'd be so good at customer service or working with clients in a coffee shop or, customers in a coffee shop or in a boutique.
One thing that comes to mind about your client is okay, so let's say they said, oh, did you apply online? No, not yet. I wanted to meet you in person first. What's the worst thing that could happen? They're going to know you're confident enough to walk in and ask physically for an application. Anybody can go online and fill out a form. But a lot of girls, especially if you're talking a freshman in college, there's a lot of fear just walking in the store and asking a question. Most of them can't even
Yeah.
make a phone call.
Yeah.
And so if she's able to walk up, ask for an application or ask if they're hiring, she already has a leg up on the ones who did only the online application. Because
Mm,
what if the hiring manager is the one that she's asking?
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a possibility that there's a positive first impression
Yeah.
right off the bat. And then she can say, my name is, I'll be applying online here shortly. So I hope to hear from you. Well, no,
Yes.
you planted that seed that this is who I am. This is why I'm in here. I wanted to introduce myself in person. So then you're taking control over why you're there, as
Mm.
opposed to, oh, I feel dumb because I didn't know there was an online application. Oh, no, I'm empowered. I wanted you to know who I was.
There's such a difference there. I can
Yeah.
totally feel those two different ways of showing up. Yeah. So I like the idea of where she's in control, she's in charge, she's saying, no, sorry, I wanted to meet you first. I wanted to check it out before I just blindly, yeah, like you're saying, because anybody could fill out an online application, but right, very few have the confidence to go in and make that face-to-face introduction for the first time.
And if you think about it, you're applying for the job. And so they should be interviewing you, but you're kind of interviewing them too, right?
Yeah.
Because you get to choose whether or not you work there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think oftentimes we look at it from oh, I'm the one who's a little bit inferior. I am the one who's a little lower, instead of, wait, I'm taking ownership of my future by choosing where I would like to work. Obviously, they have to have a position open. Obviously, they have to offer that to you,
Hmm.
but you're applying for a position. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's just let's just take it back a step and walk in confidently and securely. You need a job. If they need to hire someone, they're more likely to like you if they see you as confident, secure, and comfortable in your own skin.
Yes. Yes, especially in a customer service type industry where that's the main part of the job is, having the confidence to talk to the customers that come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so how would you apply those kind of mental management tools to, for example, the height, like let's use me as the example, the audition or the excuse me, campaign speech. I'm running for class president. So in that situation, the audience are the peers, right? Like it's kind of different. I feel like it's like a different energy when it's like, oh, this it could be my future boss, and then versus like your peers, because teenagers, like, that number one fear is that fear of judgment from their peers. So what kind of tips or tools would you give the teenagers who are in that type of a situation?
I think the first thing is going back to, again, your why. Why am I doing this? Why does this matter to me? The other thing that I would say is you have to have the confidence to walk into the room. So you better know why you're walking in there and what you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back in time to the situation that you were in and you were to write out all of the reasons why you think you would make a great president,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would look at what are all of the things that maybe my peers are looking for in a president? Which
Mm-hmm.
ones match me?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Someone's going to
okay.
become president. Why not you?
Yeah.
Instead of asking, well, why me? Ask, why not me?
I love that question. I love that. Love
Why
that.
could why shouldn't it be you? It's going to be someone.
Yeah.
Also, how does delivering the speech in front of my student body help me long term? It could be
Mm,
that something that you say resonates with someone in one of the seats that you haven't met before that could become a friend. It
mm,
could be that something that you say resonates with a teacher who has, I don't know, a connection with a potential college. Who knows? You never know
mm,
you don't know who knows who.
right.
It could be that it helps you build confidence and skills to be able to articulate yourself in front of a large group of people, especially peers, which is way more intimidating than
Right.
strangers, but that will help you in whatever is next for you. Because in
Mm,
college, you're probably going to have to do that as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of looking at what are all the possible things that could go wrong, it's what could go right, whether I
Yeah.
win or not, whether I become the next president or not. What could go right from this? What could be beneficial from this? You're building your resume, you're building connections, you're potentially having new opportunities. The fact that teenagers tend to automatically think about all of the things that could go wrong is something that we want to reverse. how about we look for all the opportunities instead of seeing everything in front of us as obstacles?
Yes, yes, that's so great. And just for the listeners, by the way, I did win for president, since you don't know the whole story, but I think of it because this is when I talk to my own kids. You know, I'm the mom of four teenagers, and I was talking to my other son, and he was just saying how, you know, he gets nervous giving a class present, like a presentation in front of class, which they have to do all the time. Like in classes, they're always speaking in front of each other. And I have another client that goes to a school where it's all discussion based, where they have to sit at a round table. That's how all their classes are conducted. And so she's always nervous about if she knows the answer and if she's prepared and if the teacher is going to think this. And so it's weird because I not weird, but like I'm noticing all the patterns now, that all of this is focused on the outward other people. It's not focused on the self. So everything you're saying makes so much sense. Like that's how you feel empowered, because you're putting all the energy back into yourself. What could go well? You know, why am I here? What is my purpose? How could this help me? How could this help me long term? Like it's such a different way of thinking. So I love that. I love that.
It's really fun. My Zoom messed up on me. So
Okay, yeah, I could tell something was happening. So
there we go.
how,
I got it. I got it
oh
finally.
great. Okay, you're good.
Yeah, I
Um,
was like seeing my brother tried to call me and then it just messed everything up. So it's all
Okay,
good.
no worries. We're back. We're here. And so what other tips can we, you know, because the audience that's listening are the moms, but these moms are going to be sharing these tips with their teenagers. So is there anything else that we can think of that would, because I know you coach the parents as well. And so how do you support parents in your work, and how can that translate to the listeners today?
The main job of a parent is to build the self-image of their kid. That's one
Mhm,
of our main roles. We
mhm,
may not be taught that, we may not be equipped to do it, but it's something that's so important for us to do. And so when we think about how the self-image grows and shrinks, it's what we think about, talk about, write about, but it's also those environmental influences, which is mom and dad. And what do we tell our kids in order to help them build their self-image or view themselves in a different way?
mm,
I say praise the character. So if you see your child that has a really great character or they're making really wise decisions, praise that over the accomplishment.
yes.
Oftentimes we're praised for accomplishment because we can measure it really well, right? You either
Mhm,
became class president or you did not.
right.
You get the grade or you don't. You're top 10% or you're not. You're on the team or you're not. And oftentimes it's really easy to praise the accomplishment and to put a lot of value on the accomplishment. But I think it's more important to praise the effort,
Mhm,
matter the outcome,
mhm.
to make
Yeah.
sure that your child knows that you are their number one support person. I mean, don't praise them for nothing. If they did nothing, we need to not praise, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But oftentimes they're going for an opportunity, and if they have a chance to know how much their effort matters to you,
Mhm.
no matter the outcome, they're more likely to continue to go and do another competition in the future.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would say.
Mhm.
Also, match their effort. So if you have a child, one of the things my father wrote a book called Parenting Champions, and in it, he talks about matching the participation level. So we have three different participation levels. You're either training to learn, so you're new at the sport, it's new to you, or the activity. You're training to win, or you're training to compete. So training to compete is in the middle, then there's training to win. And depending on how much effort you're putting in, determines really which level you're in.
Okay.
Well, if you have a child who is training to win, like they care, they're passionate, they're driven, and you're just kind of like interested, you're not matching your kids' dedication,
Mhm.
and therefore that can be discouraging.
Mm,
The opposite is worse, right? When someone has a child who's just kind of interested, they kind of like it, they don't really care about it, but mom is like so excited about it and thinks they're going to be amazing.
yeah.
You've watched Dance Moms, you've probably seen it.
Oh yeah.
And so you're not in line with what your child's actual effort is, and there's nothing wrong with a kid who's just interested in doing an activity. But there's something wrong when mom or dad are talking about these huge goals Just because a child has the capability doesn't mean they have the passion.
Right.
You have to have the passion to excel. And so those are a couple of things that I would say.
I like that. That's something I talk about too. Like, you can't want something more than your child wants it. And
Mm.
same as a coach. So I can't want something more than my client wants it. So if I'm, because then it's almost like I'm doing the work and I'm pulling the teeth and I'm asking the questions just to like force them to give the right answer. But if they're not truly interested in doing that thing, then it's just like, it's a waste of everybody's time, but it's just kind of discouraging to both parties because it doesn't feel connecting. It's like this disconnecting energy. So yeah, I agree with kind of like letting the child lead as far as showing their level of what you're saying, kind of passion about whatever the activity is. And then I like what you're saying about the parents matching them where they are. That's really great. Okay, so what else do you have for us? I mean, I know you're full of like a million things. Just to kind of like wrap up with what, this whole concept of is just supporting our kids who are competing or in high stress situations or even in the everyday situations. I love what you're saying about building that self-image in a positive way. Is there anything else that you can kind of round out the conversation with?
Well, one of the biggest challenges that I think that teenagers face is comparison and what happens to them when they're faced with comparison.
Hmm.
When we were growing up, or at least when I was growing up, I didn't have a computer in my pocket that I took
Yeah.
around with me everywhere. I didn't have a way to compare myself to other people unless I was in front of them pretty much. And now comparison is everywhere. And I think there's one form of comparison that's actually valuable, and that's when you compare yourself to somebody who already is where you want to go, and you
Mm,
utilize that as motivation to get there yourself.
yes.
That's valuable. So follow people on social media that already have the skills, the qualities, and the things that you want in life, and
Hmm.
then learn from them and be inspired by them. But don't compare yourself to people that are maybe your peers in school and count yourself out because of maybe what you believe their life may be like when you only get to
Mm,
see the highlight reel or you only
yeah.
get to see a smidgen. And so, one of the things that I've noticed in pageantry is one of my primary markets, as you said, and comparison is very, very likely there. But it
Yeah.
pulls us out of balance. We want to be balanced. You want your thoughts controlled by you. You want your skills built through deliberate practice and training for whatever the event is. And you want your self image to be built in such a way that you believe in the ability that you've created, right?
Hmm.
So, in order to be balanced, we need those things to be true. Our thoughts are controlled, our skills are built, and our self image is built as well. What pulls us out of balance is whenever our thoughts are on something else, we're distracted, and our self image is not in line with our skill level, or we don't have the habits and attitudes of someone who can succeed in this environment.
Mm,
And comparison pulls both of those mental processes out of balance.
mm,
Thoughts are not on what we need them to be because they're on someone else and something where we are deficient in some way because of what somebody else has or what someone else is doing. And
hmm.
then our self image takes a hit because any thought we have that's derogatory to ourselves is going to decrease our self image. And therefore, we can't even access our skill because we don't believe in ourselves.
Mm,
And so it's very important, I think, that parents understand that comparison is robbing their children of being able to access their full potential. And so don't help them with the comparison. So
yeah.
don't bring up the girl that your daughter thinks is her biggest competitor or her frenemy. Maybe we don't talk about her.
Yeah.
Don't bring up, oh, so and so on the such and such team is putting in way more effort than you are, Johnny. No.
Yeah.
Like, let's focus on what are the positives in our kids.
Hmm.
What are the
Hmm.
things that they're doing well? And really feed into the successes and let them see that they're successful. Because right now, a lot of kids don't see themselves as successful, even if they get the grades, even if they get the opportunities on the field. They don't see themselves as successful internally because they're too busy comparing themselves to other people who, in their minds, have more.
Mm,
As parents, we can open their minds up to the things that they are doing well. Something I wish I would have done more of with my kids when they were growing up.
hmm. Hmm. Man, that's so powerful. I like literally everything you just said was so powerful. So, would you coach when you're coaching a teenager? if they catch themselves comparing, because I think it would happen no matter what, right? Like it's just this kind of automatic thing that we do. How do you help them, like you just said, refocus or kind of bring the focus back to what needs to be focused on? Like, is that all it takes? Like just you catch yourself, you stop, you redirect, or do you have a process for that?
In some cases, that might be all it is, but in some cases, they're going to mute their friends online. Like in some cases, they're just not going to follow the people that pull their focus. They might not completely unfriend them or
Yeah.
unfollow them. They might mute them or just choose to follow people who inspire them, who motivate them,
Yeah.
or just not get on social media so much.
Yeah.
Dare I
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
the screen time is actually valuable. The other thing that I would do is remember to qualify sometimes. So maybe if someone else, let's say in sport, my daughter was a competitive cheerleader. And so I'll use this as an example. If there was someone else on her team who had really great tumbling skills, it could be, wow, she's an incredible tumbler. Well, me too. Or I'm getting there instead
Hmm.
of automatically discounting, wow, she's better than me.
Right.
Your self image doesn't know the difference between you and everybody else. So you can praise and compliment other people all day long. It doesn't hurt your self image. What hurts your
Mm.
self image is when you then say, wow, they're amazing. I'm not.
Yes.
So you've got to just stop yourself from completing that sentence into a negative direction.
Hmm.
And you can praise other people all the time. In fact, compliment people.
Hmm.
Receive compliments from people.
Hmm.
Enjoy that side of life. But just don't let it go so far as to say they are better than me, they're more important than me, they're more valuable than me, when we're all equally important and valuable.
Right.
They may have better skill, that's fair and that's fine, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that you don't have something to offer.
Hmm. Yes. Okay. That's perfect. So how can people find you and follow you after our conversation today?
I'm on Instagram, it's just my name, Heather Sumlin. And then I have a website, it's also heathersumlin.com. So those are
Okay.
some easy ways to find me. I have a podcast called She Wins, in which you will
Yeah.
be on shortly. She
Yeah.
Wins Solutions and Stories for Women, which you can find on YouTube or any podcast channel. And those are the main ways to find me.
Okay.
And I do offer a free 20-minute evaluation call if somebody wants to just kind of learn a little bit more and talk to me individually. I do offer that on my website.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been amazing. I've appreciated our time today and taking your expertise and applying it to kind of my neck of the woods and my world with teenagers and their moms and just kind of everyday life situations. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.